Now, with a look at why this could wind up before the Supreme Court. Griff?
Good morning. We don't have the jersey here, but we do have our popcorn ready for that showdown in San Francisco this afternoon before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals as the federal government defends their travel ban executive order. The Department of Justice arguing in a filing yesterday that the president has, quote, expressed statutory authority to suspend entry of any class of aliens to protect the national interest. And he says, or they say, that the purpose of this ban is to permit an orderly review and revision of screening procedures to ensure that adequate standards are in place to protect against terrorist attacks. And at Central Command in Tampa yesterday, President Trump was met with cheers.
We need strong programs so that people that love us and want to love our country and will end up loving our country are allowed in, not people that want to destroy us and destroy our country.
He also took to Twitter making his case, writing, "The threat from radical Islamic terrorism is very real. Just look at what is happening in Europe, in the Middle East. Courts must act fast." And act they will. All eyes will be on that Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals today. Oral arguments beginning at 6 p.m. via telephone. And regardless of the outcome, most expect this will ultimately end up before the Supreme Court, possibly as early as the end of this week or early next week. Guys?
Things going fast in D.C. Griff, thank you very much. Okay, so on this Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, there are two Democrats, one who was appointed by Jimmy Carter, one by Barack Obama, and one Republican appointed by George W. Bush. So, you know what? But the law is very clear. So if they don't reverse course on where we are right now, clearly it's political. And last week, we heard from that Judge Robards out in Western Washington State, a question that was very political, which is disturbing.
Yeah, he sat down. The DOJ was asking him. He was actually asking the DOJ, have there been any people in those 7 countries that have been arrested? And listen to his question, listen to the DOJ's response, and we're going to talk about it.
How many arrests have there been of foreign nationals for those 7 countries since 9/11?
Your Honor, I don't have that information.
Let me tell you, the answer to that is none, as best I can tell. So, I mean, you know, you're here arguing on behalf of someone that says we have to protect the United States from these individuals coming from these countries, and there's no support for that.
Well, there's a couple of things you could say. If you are without the legal training necessary to be presenting your case to for the Department of Justice to that judge, you could just say, listen, Judge, these are broken nations. They're a terror-laden nation. This is the percentage of there that are terrorists, subscribe to 2 or 3 major terrorist organizations. This is what we've been listed. I'd be sure to go back into your chambers and show you the potential danger and go over to Europe and you could see what's happening, understand their target. So Kellyanne Conway heard this and said, guys, can you do me a favor? Can you actually pick up this story in the AP? Because in this story has examples of terrorists coming over here and targeting us. Listen.
It's such an important thing for everybody to note because the judge from the bench had asked the attorney how many people have actually been arrested under this type of order, and she said, I don't know, and he said, I'll tell you 0, and that's just not true.
And the key is the word arrested. The judge made, you know, he was thinking, well, what about the people who attacked the Boston Marathon or San Bernardino or any of those places? But he said simply arrested. And the Associated Press, Eric Tucker at AP, did some fact checking. And the judge absolutely wrong. And there are a number of instances.
This is what the AP found. Just last October, an Iraqi refugee living in Texas pleaded guilty to attempting to provide support to the Islamic State group, wanting to blow himself up in an act of martyrdom.
The AP goes on to say in November, a Somali refugee injured 11 in a car and knife attack at Ohio State University. And the main problem is, and the main difference is over the last 8 years when things like this happen, the story just craters because the administration doesn't get behind it, because they don't take action because of it. They actually look to push it away. That is the approach of the last 8 years. The previous 8 years was totally different, to the point where people are saying George Bush is looking to jack up his approval ratings by looking at all the terror opportunities.
Well, Judge Robarts says in that soundbite that we originally played, he said, as best I can tell. Well, he's wrong, because the AP did the fact checking. They found just 2. Those were just 2 examples that we read. And my opinion is why even risk it? All it takes is one person. These are countries that have terror ties.
Sure. And Ainsley, just to build on what you said, we're not even saying don't come. We just want to ask you extra questions and set up our criteria to make sure that you're the person you say you are.
And underreported, you know, we have reported a lot of these things, but a lot of the other mainstream outlets don't even touch the stuff.
The mainstream media, I was watching another network and they were showing an example of a family. It was a refugee and they sent their son here who was a burn victim, a little boy, and he was trying to get care here and they were stuck over there because she was pregnant and she couldn't travel. Her baby was born. She was trying to get to her first son and she couldn't. And yeah, my heart is country. I just want to make sure the people coming in are safe.
Well, that sounds like a case where the mother should be with the child. Meanwhile, Bill O'Reilly, a couple of days ago, sat down with the president. Most of it aired during the Super Bowl. You saw 9 minutes and 50 seconds of it on Super Bowl Sunday. But he went on to do an extended interview. Here's Bill O'Reilly talking to the president about illegals.
Why do the Democrats oppose protecting Americans from violent foreign criminals?
Because they think that's their voter.
So they think that's their voter. We've got another soundbite we want to play for you, given that. Here is the Senate leader out in California, a Democrat by the name of Kevin De Leon. And what he's about to admit is extraordinary. He's about to admit, essentially, it sounds like, half his family is in the country illegally with fake driver's licenses and Social Security cards as well. Felonies all. Listen to this. Here's the leader out in California.
I can tell you half of my family would be eligible for deportation under the executive order, because if they got a false Social Security card, if they got a false identification, if they got a false driver's license prior to us passing AB 60, if they got a false green card, and anyone who has family members, you know, who are undocumented knows that almost entirely everybody has secured some sort of false identification. That's what you need to survive, to work. They are eligible for massive deportation.
Because they don't belong here, and they should be eligible for mass deportation. And until they can get, but I don't think they're going to be targeted initially. But here's, that's a totally different thing.
That's fear-mongering.
Yeah. Real quick, I thought it was just very, they say, as much as everyone's talking about the 9th District, today we're going to find out, and later we're going to hear the cases, being liberal. I thought Charles Krautmeyer made a great point, and we heed this appointment made by Judge Napolitano. It is so obviously constitutional for President Trump to do what he did. He would not be surprised if one of the liberal judges went to his side.
It's clear. And just one thing regarding that Senate leader in California. He's talking about his family having fake Social Security cards and fake driver's licenses. That's how you vote. Is Donald Trump right
That's
about
what
that?
Donald Trump was saying.
We don't know the numbers. But there's going to be, Mike Pence is going to head that up. We heard that from Brian's interview. All right, it's 6:12 now here in New York City, and today Heather Childers joins us with the news.
Yeah, it's going to be a very busy day. Good morning to you, to everyone at home. Let's start with a live shot, though. This is from the Senate floor, where Democrats are staging an all-night session of their goal to derail today's confirmation of education nominee Betsy DeVos.
In my mind, she is the least qualified nominee in a historically unqualified cabinet.
Well, the White House says that DeVos is an unbelievable champion of education. Two Republican senators, Collins and Murkowski, they're set to vote against her, setting up a potential 50-50 split. And then Vice President Mike Pence would deliver the tie-breaking vote. The military pushed to the breaking point. That is what you will hear from top Pentagon officials today. They are headed to Capitol Hill to fight for a $30 billion budget. This just one day after President Trump promised new equipment at MacDill Air Force Base.
And we're going to be loading it up with beautiful new planes and beautiful new equipment. You've been lacking a little equipment. We're going to load it up. You're going to get a lot of equipment. Believe me.
So what's it going for? Well, the money is expected to help pay for new fighter jets, armored vehicles.
Here's some headlines for you. Another Democrat defying orders from the White House. The mayor of Prospect Park, New Jersey, declaring it a sanctuary for illegal immigrants. This Syrian-born Muslim says that he is following the national trend because he is an immigrant. He also says there's nothing to lose since his city doesn't rely on federal funding. And Virginia lawmakers want to hold sanctuary communities responsible. State senators approving a new bill to allow people to sue if they become a victim of an illegal's crime. It is intended to help families like Kate Steinleys, who was murdered by an illegal in San Francisco. Her parents tried to sue the city, but they were unsuccessful. Steve?
Thanks, Ainsley. In just the first 3 weeks of his time in office, President Trump has dominated the news cycle, have you noticed? But has all the coverage been fair? Well, that all depends. A new poll claims Republicans and Democrats could not disagree more. 74% of Republicans say the media has been too tough on Trump, and 49% of Democrats say not tough enough. So which one is it? Joining us right now for a fair and balanced debate, our staff writer at The Federalist, Bree Payton. She is screen left, and a journalist and author, Cathy Erode. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Okay, so Cathy, you say that the coverage the mainstream media has given Donald Trump absolutely fair.
Absolutely fair. It's the media's job to be every man. We're supposed to go in and ask the questions that the average person wishes that they could ask a president. That's why the media has access. And when you catch the commander-in-chief and his administration lying about the inauguration numbers, apprentice ratings, the Bowling Green massacre, you have to call them out for it. We have to fact check. That's what the media is supposed to do.
Cathy, you know that Kellyanne Conway misspoke regarding the Bowling Green massacre. There were terrorists from Bowling Green who are sitting in prison right this minute, but she said massacre when she could have said terrorist, and been just as accurate.
3 times she said it, though. It wasn't just 1 time.
All right, fine. So what do you say, Bree?
I would say that I definitely agree with Cathy that it is the media's job to hold politicians accountable and to call them out when they lie, but it's not the media's job to lie themselves. I mean, last week the Associated Press literally told us that Donald Trump was going to invade Mexico. And the media also told us that Donald Trump was going to lift sanctions on Russia when it was actually a technical fix that President Obama had put in place before he left office. So, I think it's very clear that the media is just upset that their queen was defenestrated, and now they're acting like crazed baboons, and they're going after all of these dumb distractions. As Cathy pointed out, they're doubling down and focusing on dumb things like the apprentice rating numbers when they really should be talking about the U.S.'s relations with Russia, and they shouldn't be lying about it like they did last week.
Okay, so Cathy, let me ask you about this. How do you feel about the mainstream media coverage of President Barack Obama? Do you think that was tough and inquiring? Because a lot of people have said that just in the last 3 weeks, the mainstream media woke up. Hey, we've been asleep for the last 8 years, and now we're going to start asking the president hard questions.
Well, actually, people think the media woke up because they weren't tough on Trump.
So you're saying they did wake up?
They didn't wake up during the election. The election, they were just not taking Trump seriously. So that's when the media was asleep at the wheel.
Well, the New York Daily News put a picture of Donald Trump in a clown suit on their cover. I mean, is that fair?
They just didn't take him seriously, and they should have taken him more seriously. So that was the problem. They were asleep at the wheel with that election. But I don't think with Obama. They reported things accurately when Obama was in office. And to have a president now bragging about apprentice ratings is silly and crazy. And how can the media not report that?
All right, Bree, final word.
Right. Well, I think it's very clear that during Obama's tenure, he lied repeatedly. He repeated the lie all the time that if you like your health insurance, you can keep it, when that's completely true. My family personally has lost the health care insurance that they wanted because of that lie that the media helped them perpetuate. And, Obama's Ben Rhodes even bragged about how the media just acted like eager lapdogs, willing to repeat all the numerous lies about the various aspects of the Iran deal. So I think it's very clear that the media was very easy on Obama all throughout his tenure in office, and I think it's very clear that now the reverse is true because the media is more interested in serving liberal elites in office.
All right, folks out there in TV land, what do you think? Email us, friends@foxnews.com. You could Facebook us or tweet us as well. All right, Cathy and Bree, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on this Tuesday, Nordstrom says it pulled Ivanka's clothing line over poor sales. Well, this morning, Ivanka is revealing evidence it was all about politics. Nordstrom. And remember when Hillary Clinton said this?
To just be grossly generalistic, You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
Well, that basket of deplorables line struck Todd Starnes so hard he wrote a book about it called The Deplorables Guide to Making America Great Again. We're going to talk about that.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up.
You know what you don't hear in that? The sound of a car crashing. That was the beginning of the end of Hillary Clinton.
Todd Starnes is the host of Fox News and Commentary, heard on hundreds of radio stations, and the author of a brand new book, comes out this week. It's called The Deplorables Guide to Making America Great Again. All right, so Todd, how big an impact did that soundbite impact Hillary
Well, I think it was huge. I think that may have been the deciding factor for a lot of folks around the country. Very similar to what President Obama said back in 2007 in San Francisco about the folks who cling to their guns and cling to their religion, called them bitter. And now you have Hillary calling us deplorable. And as I write in the book, I'm proud to call myself one of those gun-toting, Bible-clinging, deplorable Americans. And there are a lot of them who voted on Election Day.
I can't tell you how many times people came up to us when we were out in the field and said, "Hi, I'm a deplorable."
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm a deplorable.
Made.
Yeah. T-shirts made, and people took pride in the negativity.
They did. You know, we had our first book signing Sunday at First Baptist Church in Dallas, Dr. Robert Jeffress' church. And a guy comes up to me, says, "I'm a Puerto Rican deplorable," gives me a fist bump. You know, it's that kind of, you know, people have really embraced what was meant as a smear, and they've embraced that as sort of a badge of honor.
Well, you were very traditional, and you're proud of that, and you love your traditional values and what this country stands for. You love Ronald Reagan. You compare President Trump in your book to Ronald Reagan. What is it that our country needs to do to get back to those traditional values and be the country we once were?
I interviewed Franklin Graham for the book, and he said the country was at a moral tipping point. And I believe, and I think a lot of people believe, that divine providence was at work here in this election. I think there's really no other explanation for it. And I believe we've been given a second chance, and I believe that God is not finished with America yet, and that's why I believe Donald Trump is in the White House.
But as a professional broadcaster, how would you like to read an excerpt out of your book?
All right, I think I can handle this.
Hey, what is just randomly picking something out?
Okay.
What's it regarding?
This is regarding a promise that President Obama made back on the campaign trail a long time ago, and the results of that.
Okay, go ahead.
In 2008, President Barack Obama promised to fundamentally transform the United States of America. In less than 8 years, our former president turned the most exceptional nation on earth into a vast wasteland of perpetually offended snowflakes. We've gone from the greatest generation to the entitlement generation.
And we can't afford to be the entitlement generation. The money's running out.
You're right, Brian. You're absolutely right.
All right. So once again, the book comes out today officially? Is that
The book is out today, and we have an awesome website, deplorablesbook.com. And apparently there are really a lot of deplorable people across the fruited plain.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you got one of the most popular syndicated columns out there today. Good job.
Thanks a lot, guys.
When did you buy that URL? Immediately after?
Just right after, yes.
Yeah.
I should have thanked Hillary in the acknowledgments.
Gone.
All right.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Todd.
guys.
All right. Time for some news with Heather.
Yes, and we have a story that is going to really scare you. Everyone at home, listen to this. This Fox News alert sounding the alarm at our nation's airports. The House Homeland Security Committee uncovering scathing security flaws that put Americans at risk for lone wolf attacks. The committee finding that 900,000 people working in airports across the country can bypass normal security screenings. In 2015, an investigation uncovered 73 aviation workers with possible ties to terrorism not found in their background checks. The TSA says it is reviewing the report. And an urgent pet food recall to tell you about. Every dog owner needs to hear this. Evangers recalling cans of hunk of beef. Its supplier discovering a euthanasia drug in some of its supply. Well, the Illinois company says that 5 dogs have gotten sick. One of them was killed. The recall affects 15 states. The cans sold in stores and online last June. Evangers believes that all of the affected food has already been sold or eaten. And Casey Anthony, remember her, emerging from seclusion to protest President Trump. The infamous Florida mom was seen at an anti-Trump rally in West Palm Beach over the weekend. The 30-year-old showed up smiling with a backwards baseball hat and glow bracelets on. The once accused killer saying that she does not support the president's immigration policies. Anthony has laid low since she was cleared in the murder of her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee, back in 2011. And Ivanka Trump coming out swinging after Nordstrom yanks her merchandise from store shelves. The retailer claiming that the move was not political. This is despite mounting pressure from protesters to boycott all Trump brands. Well, a spokesperson for the first daughter slamming the idea that poor sales are to blame, adding this, quote, "The strength of a brand is measured not only by the profits it generates, but the integrity that it maintains." Neiman Marcus also pulling her merchandise, and now Macy's is reportedly feeling the pressure from wallet warriors. So we'll see what they do. Those are little headlines.
If people want it, they should go online anyway. How much do you shop online?
A lot.
Right? And do you think you represent a lot of women?
Do I think I represent
a lot of women that you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I know women that are now boycotting.
Too.
Right.
I know women that are so mad about this they are boycotting Nordstrom's. But her price points are really good. Her shoes are great. I have several pairs.
My daughters have her boots. Here's the thing.
Why would you not buy her brands because her dad is? You don't agree with her dad?
Well, Nordstrom says it was because of lagging sales, but as it turns out, there are some stories this morning that show that the presidents of Nordstrom, the Nordstrom family, they put out a statement attacking Trump's immigration plan 2 days before they cut her
Twitter.
line.
On Twitter.
So it'll just hasten the end of retail and push more people online.
She's pro equal pay for women. She talked about that at the convention. And the woman who is running her company is a single mom, and she's employed more women in her company.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Hey, Janistine, how much do you get paid?
What?
Pardon me?
He's kidding.
That's not an appropriate
Not enough
question.
to be standing out in the rain.
That has nothing to do with what we were talking about either.
Brian's middle name, not appropriate.
That's Brian trying to make sure that
It's
he's
Michael.
getting paid more than you, Janice.
It's Michael for the record.
Fair enough. I'll take cream in my coffee, please, Brian.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the maps. We have a storm across the Northeast and across the West, and we have severe weather that could disrupt travel across the Mississippi River Valley, and that's where we have our tornado, actually a severe thunderstorm watch in effect. And unfortunately, my maps are not cooperative, but I can tell you that it is going to rain and sleet and snow on the Patriots parade today. That's happening at 11 a.m., and we're going to watch the potential for a big winter storm all along the I-95 corridor Wednesday into Thursday. So a lot to talk about. I will make sure that I fix my maps for my next weather update in the next hour. Brian, Steve, Ainsley, back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Janice. So it's going to rain and sleet on the Patriots parade. You know, he could really use that warm jersey today.
He really could.
Whoever has it, give it back.
Please, enough. He's been through enough, Tom Brady. He doesn't need this type of stress in his life.
He's had a rough go at life, right?
Come on, things will turn around, Tom.
Giselle could knit him a new one.
Do you know Giselle is begging him to retire?
Really?
Yeah.
I was wondering, is he going to retire? Because he just won, he holds the record now.
No.
He says no?
He says he doesn't even get sore in the morning.
He's got more gas in the tank, as we say.
Right.
All right. Meanwhile, coming up, speaking of...
All right, well, today an appeals court will hear arguments on the president's executive order limiting immigration from 7 countries with ties to terror as liberal activists push to have it overturned. Here to break it all down for us, Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Thank you, Judge. Good to see you.
Friend.
Good morning. All right, so we were on air apparently and didn't know it.
Okay, so we have an application in a federal court in Seattle to hold a trial about whether or not the president is improperly interfering with the lawful right of people to enter. People with green cards, people with visas, people with medical conditions who obviously are not terrorists and have the right to come here. And these people go to the state of Washington, the government of Washington. The government of Washington files a lawsuit in their behalf. And they persuade a federal judge to stop the enforcement of the executive order while they have the trial. And the federal judge makes conclusions which, in my view, are inappropriate for a federal judge to decide.
Like what?
He basically second-guesses the president. He says to the lawyers for the Justice Department, can you show me any terrorists that have come in from those 7 countries? He looks at that and he goes, none. Now, that is factually incorrect.
Correct.
But it's also an inappropriate area of inquiry for a judge. The judge's job, that's a picture of him, Judge Robart, the judge's job is to see if the Constitution Constitution was followed, not if the president made the correct judgment. So he signs the executive order banning he signs his order invalidating the executive order, not just in Seattle, but everywhere in the United States. Then the Justice Department appeals that. That's the appeal that will be argued by telephone.
By those three judges
only
today.
in America, one in Phoenix, one in San Francisco, one in Hawaii. That argument will be argued tonight, 6 o'clock Eastern, by telephone. I don't think we'll have a ruling until tomorrow morning because this court reduces to writing the reasons for which it does everything, and it's going to take a few hours for somebody to write.
What do we know about this court? I know that the court has had different nicknames. They're known to be a very liberal court. These three judges, two of them are liberal, one is a conservative. What are we expecting today?
Well, I'm going to push back a little bit on predicting the outcome here on the basis of the politics of the members of the court.
They should just be reading the law and interpreting it.
Yes, and for one of them I know will do that. He's my boyhood friend and classmate, Judge Clifton, who, what a job. He sits in Hawaii. God bless him. I think that the court is going to do the following. That's Judge Clifton all the way on the right.
Is he the conservative one?
Yes. Okay. But put aside his politics. He is, and the other two are as well, devoted to the law. So there's a couple of legal principles here. You're not supposed to go into federal court and file a lawsuit unless you've been harmed. Has the state of Washington been harmed as a state? Answer no. So you're supposed to have the people who've been harmed, somebody who tried to come in to have a heart transplant operation, I'm giving you a hypothetical example, and couldn't get in because the president imposed the ban. That person would be an appropriate plaintiff, but not the state of Washington suing in behalf of others. So you can't file a lawsuit just because you disagree with the president.
Yes or no, will this go to the Supreme Court?
I don't think so. I think that this court is going to throw it out tomorrow morning. Okay. The executive order will be enforced in an orderly way, and the president will move on to his next project.
That's what the president's hoping for.
Is on the president's side.
Okay. Thanks, Judge.
You're welcome.
Coming up, Starbucks promised to hire 10,000 refugees. So how is this for a response to that? Meet the former Green Beret, who is promising to hire 10,000 veterans.
Put it in my bag, and then I came out, and it wasn't there anymore. So it's unfortunate because that's a nice piece of memorabilia. So if it shows up on eBay somewhere, someone let me know. Try to track that down.
He's obsessed with his shirt.
I don't blame him.
I thought it was taken out of his locker. He actually put it in his bag, and someone went in and got it.
Well, it's a Fox News alert, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. Yep, and sooner or later I'm going to read it. It's the million-dollar question on everyone's mind. Where in the world is Tom Brady's jersey? It's been missing ever since the Patriots won the Super Bowl. The Texas Rangers, who wear uniforms, now helping police with the search.
That's right, because it's worth $500,000 in memorabilia fees. But the mystery won't stop Patriots fans from celebrating today. The team's victory parade, as we heard from Janice, set to kick off in a couple of hours in Boston. It's going to be a rainy, icy day. Meanwhile, hashtag #NotMySuperBowlChamps is trending. It's the Friends trend today. It's trending by liberals slamming the Patriots for their ties to the president, failing miserably this morning, and wait until you hear how.
Here with more on today's top trends is Fox News Headlines 24/7 reporter Carly Shimkus. Hey, Carly, so people are mad. People are mad that the Patriots won just because Tom Brady and the owner are friends with Donald Trump.
And it looks like people just can't really accept the results of the Super Bowl either. That hashtag #NotMySuperBowlChamps skyrocketed to the top of Twitter's trending section. But most of the tweets are kind of poking fun of liberals now. At Prison Planet tweeted, breaking, Jill Stein announces demands for a rematch because Russia hacked the football. Send her lots of money. Hashtag #NotMySuperBowlChamps. And then at Palm Pilot, #NotMySuperBowlChamps. I just heard that Starbucks is hiring 10,000 Falcons fans. Hashtag safe space.
Funny.
And then Joe, he tweeted, since the Falcons led for most of the time, shouldn't they be the winners? Hashtag Hillary logic. Shout out to Joe on that one. That's my favorite too.
So they had the popular emotional vote.
Yeah, especially in the very, very beginning.
Now let's talk about Audi and what's going on with their commercial as they try to make a big deal out of the fact that they claim that there's no equal pay in this country.
Let's take a look. We have a clip of it.
What do I tell my daughter? Do I tell her that her grandpa's worth more than her grandma? Do I tell her that despite her education, her drive, her skills, her intelligence, she will automatically be valued as less than every man she ever meets?
So, yeah, well, but here's the big news this morning. It turns out that Audi doesn't really hire very many women. So just 22% of the company's employees are women, and only 12% of them are in the senior management.
Here's the important numbers. On the U.S. management team, they have 2 women. But on Audi's global management brand, they have 0 women. Right. And this is a big story.
But hypothetically, they might pay them equal had they hired
Audi does say that they do pay the women that they have on their staff equally.
If they hired them.
And they are going to try and hire them.
2 out of their 14 total, and the 2 are women.
All right, so you know about the rivalry between the commissioner and the New England Patriots?
Rivalry?
When it comes to the debate, when it came to
But you're asking her like she wouldn't know because she's a woman.
I'm leaving.
When it came to the Deflategate, they felt the commissioner treated New England too harshly.
She's familiar with that story.
And turns out their feelings came out in a T-shirt.
Yes. So let me just simplify this for you. Patriots defensive coordinator Matt Patricia was seen getting off a plane wearing this shirt. It portrays Roger Goodell as a clown. So Tom Brady's missing jersey isn't the only shirt that's going viral online today. This one as well. You know, I tweeted at Roger Goodell recently, and I asked him why the Super Bowl wasn't on a Saturday. For some reason, he never got back to me. I'm still waiting.
Super Bowl Saturday?
That's what I think should happen.
Well, that would make sense.
Because you could have Sunday to recover.
Exactly.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Carly.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Meanwhile, coming up on this Tuesday, the judge blocking President Trump's immigration order says no refugees have been arrested regarding terror in America. But you know what? That's not true. Sebastian Gorka, who now works at the White House, will run down the facts coming up in about 15 minutes.
And Hillary Clinton is out of the woods and back in the headlines. She just made a tape.
Jersey on eBay. What do you think? 25 seconds later, the cops show up?
I mean, put it this way. At this point, the Mona Lisa would be cheaper and less conspicuous. Everybody wants the jersey.
Is it missing too?
You never know. It could be taken in some Naked Gun cape sequel. It could be taken.
Everyone's talking about the jersey. So the jersey is missing. We were getting different reports yesterday.
It was very clear yesterday that the equipment manager put it in his bag for safekeeping. Not true. Was that the same equipment manager who supposedly deflated the balls?
Oh, right.
Oh man, if it was, that poor guy.
I don't think Tom Brady will do that again. But I do remember. I do think it's important to point out that Tom Brady and Joe Montana are so similar, and he worshipped Joe Montana, and they're both known as being. We grew up, used to watch the 49ers play. Joe Montana was known to be so calm under pressure. He famously said in the game-winning drive against Cincinnati Bengals, he saw how nervous Harris Barton was, his defensive lineman. He looked at him. He goes, "Hey, Harris, see who that is over there?
Right.
That's John
Kance. He's been in the Super Bowl a lot of times.
He sure has.
He didn't get caught up in Lady Gaga.
All right. And meanwhile, as soon as the jersey is located, we will alert you. In the meantime, let's talk about news of the day. Hours from now, the battle over President Trump's immigration order coming to a head in a high-stakes hearing on the telephone.
All right, the White House demanding it be restored immediately to keep America safe.
Griff Jenkins is live in D.C. with why this might be teeing up as a standoff in the Supreme Court. Hey, Griff.
Good morning. The stage is set for a showdown in San Francisco before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals later today. The federal government will argue that the travel ban is all about national security. The states will argue that it's unconstitutional. The president was making his case yesterday at Central Command in Tampa.
We need strong programs so that people that love us and want to love our country and will end up loving our country are allowed in, not people that want to destroy us and destroy our country.
In a filing yesterday, the Department of Justice argues that the president has, quote, expressed statutory authority to suspend entry of any class of aliens to protect the national interest. And it says that the purpose of the ban is to permit an orderly review and revision of screening procedures to ensure that adequate standards are in place to protect against terrorist attacks. President Trump also took to Twitter yesterday, making his case, writing, "The threat from radical Islamic terrorism is very real. Just look at what is happening in Europe and the Middle East. Courts must act fast." and act they will, possibly very fast. Oral arguments begin today at 6 p.m. Eastern, as you mentioned, on the phone. The Ninth Circuit expected to rule quickly, and actually, regardless of the outcome, guys, most expect this will ultimately end up before the Supreme Court, possibly as soon as the end of this week or early next.
All right, Trump, thank you. Trump. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was going to say, Trump spokesperson Sean Spicer said the judge has gone rogue in this, but instead my tongue went rogue.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you, Griff.
Trump.
So listen, we're not constitutional attorneys, and basically during this entire process, we almost needed to have one on a retainer through these talking points.
Luckily we do.
Right. Judge Napolitano.
Yeah.
He's full-time. We asked him, we think, he gets full benefits, I believe, here. Even though
He has an office.
He also has another job. I'm not sure if he turned down our health care. But here's Judge Napolitano talking about the constitutionality of this, regardless of what he believes.
I think that this court is going to throw it out tomorrow morning.
Okay.
The executive order will be enforced in an orderly way, and the president will move on to his next project.
That's what the president's hoping for.
It's on the president's side.
Right, so these three judges in San Francisco, actually, these three judges in the Ninth Circuit Court, they're in different states. They are going to have a phone conversation at 6 p.m. Eastern Time tonight to discuss this. It's going to be an hour-long conversation and decide whether or not Trump's executive order is legal or not.
It's going to be a conference call. The law the judge was just talking about right there is a 1952 statute, and what it says is the president has the authority. It clearly says the president has the authority to suspend any immigration of anybody for reasons of public health, public safety, or national interest.
And guess who else knows that? Jimmy Carter, because he did the same thing when it came to Iran in 1979.
Well, if you look at the reputation of this court, you know, they have several nicknames. It's the Ninth Circuit Court. So they have the Nutty Nine as one of their nicknames, and the Ninth Circuit, because they're extremely liberal. Circus. They have 2 liberals and 1 conservative. But Judge Napolitano is saying if you just read the law, you're not supposed to. Your opinions are not supposed to influence your decision. He said if you read the law, you're right. Donald Trump is clearly within the law.
If they don't reverse this judge, it's clearly political, and that's bad, and it could wind up before the Supreme Court, although they say that if the state of Washington wins, the Supreme Court probably will take the case. But if it's thrown out, the Supreme Court probably won't take it because they'll just say, we agree with that.
All right, on a different note, Bill O'Reilly's interview was 40 minutes. You saw about, what, 9 at Super Bowl Sunday? So more of it last night, more of it tonight. One area we wanted to bring to you was when Bill O'Reilly asked Donald Trump about his relationship with a guy we thought was bitter up until they had a chance to meet. Here's Donald Trump's take on what he believes Barack Obama, how Barack Obama feels about him.
It was fascinating to watch you at the inauguration with Barack Obama. You guys seem to get along. All right, would that be accurate?
It's a very strange phenomenon. We get along. I don't know if he'll admit this, but he likes me.
How do you know he likes you?
I like him because I can feel it. You know, that's what I do in life. It's called, like, I understand. Now, we had a rough campaign. He was fighting better for Hillary than she did. He was vicious during the campaign toward me, and I was vicious toward him. We said horrible things about each other. And then we hop into the car, and we drive down Pennsylvania Avenue together. We don't even talk about it. Politics is amazing.
What'd you talk about?
We talked about the country. We talked about the future of the country. I asked him about what do you think our biggest problem is, and he told me, I can't tell you, but it's a problem. It's a military problem with a certain place. No, it's not China, actually. No, it's not. But it is, he did mention, because I did ask him, I said, what would you say the number 1, 2, and 3 problems are? And the number 1 problem that he felt, I was a little bit surprised, but I fully understand.
But you can't tell us?
I can't do that. I can't do that. Not for any other reason other than I don't think he'd mind if I said it. I don't want to let that particular place know that that's the way he or I feel. But we had a great. It was a great inauguration. I loved every minute of it, and I got along with him. In fact, people were sort of surprised. I finished. I turned around. He was smiling. I was smiling.
Well, but it's fantastic.
What he said right after that was fascinating because he said you excoriated him in your inauguration speech.
And he's standing 5 feet away.
Why do you think he likes you? I mean,
the other tantalizing thing from that particular soundbite is that Barack Obama told Donald Trump there's a military problem with a certain place. And he said, China? And he said, not China. I wonder what that place is.
Well, after
Is it a
that
country?
interview, he had some guests on, and they were guessing what country it might be. Bill O'Reilly said Pakistan. His guest said North Korea.
I find it refreshing that somebody in Washington who knows the secret, Donald Trump, didn't spill the beans.
And
He's
Heather,
keeping that confidence.
You know history.
From
It's
the
always,
President's Club.
don't you think it's always better even when former presidents get along? When Bill Clinton and George Bush got along, I think it's great.
Well, from people that are getting along and putting politics aside, we have some that definitely are not, and they've been going at it all night long. Let's go live to the Senate floor for you. This is where those Democrats are staging that session. It has gone on all night. Their goal to derail today's confirmation of education nominee Betsy DeVos.
It's difficult to imagine a worse choice to head the Department of Education.
Well, the White House calls DeVos saying that she is an unbelievable champion of education. Two Republican senators, though, Collins and Murkowski, they're set to vote against her, setting up a potential 50-50 split. Vice President Mike Pence could deliver the tie-breaking vote. A manhunt underway right now for an armed and dangerous pair accused of murdering 3 people. Billy Boyette Jr. and Mary Rice are suspected of killing 2 women in the Florida Panhandle and then another in Alabama. They're also wanted for breaking into a Florida home and shooting a mother. Her baby just steps away at the time. That woman is in critical condition. Boyette has told police that he will not be taken alive. And women now being told to march right off the job by the same group that cheered for disgusting statements like this.
Yes, I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Well, a tweet from organizers of the anti-Trump Women's March calling for a day without women. It would be a nationwide strike for female workers. They have not yet decided on a date. And finally, at 63 years old, Christy Brinkley, she has proven she's still got it. Yep, the legendary supermodel back in a bikini for this year's Sports Illustrated. Yes, actually a family affair. Yeah, those are her 2 daughters, 31-year-old Alexa and 19-year-old Sailor. They all look the same age, don't you think? Well, the magazine, Brinkley thanked the magazine, quote, "We do not come with an expiration date." That is true. And then the magazine hit stands on Friday. Wow.
And it sounds like she might be on the cover. They do 3 covers. Really? She might be on the cover. And apparently, thank you, Heather.
She deserves it.
There's a story out today that apparently Kate Upton wanted the cover, and she's steamed she's not on the cover.
You know why she isn't, though? She's a drama queen, evidently.
Well, I wasn't going to include that part.
I
just wanted to say she's steamed.
Is that bad that I
You
said
just threw her under the bus.
They didn't call her in the
We're
paper.
not sure about that.
They didn't call her a drama queen. They called her a diva.
Right.
Oh, really?
Isn't it the same thing, Ian?
Well, Christy Brinkley, hands down. I mean, is she not? She's so gorgeous. I know. What is her secret?
Is that a problem for women to see a woman that age, that great? You like that?
No, we love it. I'm proud of her. I think she looks fantastic.
Men don't like to see other men aging better.
The only women that might have
That's
a
true.
problem with it are jealous women or women that are insecure.
Right.
Well, there you go.
Or divas.
Okay.
Thank you, Christy Brinkley, for just showing up and giving us another talking point. All right. Meanwhile, straight ahead, the breaking news: the judge blocking President Trump's immigration order says no refugees have been arrested for terror in the United States. But you know what? He's wrong. Sebastian Gorka, who now works at the White House, will run down the facts from the White House coming up next.
And it was built to honor our heroes, but atheists forced a town to change this Veterans Memorial, all because of a cross. But this morning, there's a big update.
Is that?
ISIS is on a campaign of genocide, committing atrocities across the world. It's gotten to a point where it's not even being reported. And in many cases, the very, very dishonest press doesn't want to report it. They have their reasons, and you understand that.
There you have President Trump blasting the mainstream media for underreporting many attacks around the world. The press asked for proof, and they got it. The White House provided a list of 78 attacks they claim the press has barely covered. Joining us right now is Deputy Assistant to President Trump, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. He joins us from the White House. Good morning to you, Dr. Gorka.
Good morning.
So President Trump said yesterday, these are underreported things. We have tried here at Fox to report as many as possible, but you've got to admit there's a lot of members of the mainstream media that haven't, during the Obama years, touched this with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, there's a strange attitude to this very serious global threat. And on the one hand, there's the effort to almost dismiss the real nature of the attack almost instantly. Do you remember after Orlando, after that jihadi attack in which 49 Americans were killed, for almost 2 weeks, the mainstream media had this weird theory that it wasn't jihad, it wasn't terrorism. Omar Mateen was a repressed homosexual and he was taking revenge on his Latin lover. I mean, just absurd lengths they go to try and divert the narrative.
Dr. Gorka,
yes.
Let me ask you that. Why would they want to divert the narrative?
Because there was a White House approved version of what reality is. There was this, it's nothing to do with religion, don't use the word jihad, it's about unemployed people. Remember that famous phrase, all you need are jobs for jihadis. So there was this White House narrative and the media just facilitated it.
Let's talk for a moment at what's at stake. Later today, there's going to be a conference call. The Circuit Court of Appeals out in California and the Western states are going to rule on the Trump administration travel ban. If they throw it out, I know you'd say that's good, but if they say it's going to stay and goes to the Supreme Court, what's the matter with that?
Well, it just means that there's more misinterpretation of what is a very, very clear executive order. The rights of the president, as laid down in the 1952 law and the more recent law, are very explicit. If there is a national security threat to America, then he has every right to halt, to temporarily put a stop on those who wish to emigrate to the United States or who wish to get refugee status. This isn't invented. This is in the law, and I expect it to be upheld.
Well, you're not the only person who says that. There are a lot of legal analysts who say the same thing. And Dr. Gorka, if they don't, it's going to look political, isn't it?
Unfortunately, it is, and this is one of the saddest things that we see more and more judges who want to legislate from the bench or have their political views translated.
All right. Very good. Dr. Gorka joining us from his new job at the White House. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
It sure is noisy there, just saying, the White House. Meanwhile, coming up, no conservatives allowed the college campus where Republicans now not welcome, apparently banned. And Starbucks promised to hire 10,000 refugees. So how's this for a response to Starbucks? You're about to meet the former Green Beret who's promising to hire 10,000 vets for his coffee company.
All right, time for some quick headlines. Trouble with Schools edition. A California university banning a conservative group because it allegedly made liberal students feel unsafe, in bold letters. The Student Senate at Santa Clara University rejecting the petition to form a chapter of Turning Points USA. The school says they could apply it again next semester. And cashing in on controversy, the University of Minnesota Law School just got a $25 million donation to help provide free legal services to illegal immigrants. Get that? The public university is active in immigration law, and San Francisco will be first in the nation to make City College free. Starting next fall, anyone who has lived in the city for at least a year can take advantage. And you guessed it, taxpayers will foot the bill, just when you thought you'd have some extra money.
All right. Now, before we start the next segment, let's all take a little sip of coffee.
Here we go. Cheers. All right. Well, you remember, guys, when Starbucks pledged, here we go, Here, Evan, thank you. To hire 10,000 refugees to fight against the president's immigration order.
We did hear that news. Well, our next guest, who we just clinked cups with, had the perfect response. He's an Army Special Forces vet and has a coffee company of his own, and he is going to hire 10,000 veterans.
Joining us right now is the CEO of Black Rifle Coffee Company and Army Special Forces veteran, Evan Haffer. Evan, welcome back.
Thank you very much, you guys.
Evan, that's a good cup of coffee.
It is really
I appreciate it.
Evan, how'd you go from those pictures to now having a coffee company?
I've been roasting coffee for 10 years, so I started in a little 1-pound coffee roaster back in Colorado between deployments. I was basically going back and forth between Iraq, Afghanistan, and Colorado.
Your side job.
This is a little side job. It's something that I really enjoyed doing. It actually took me out of that element of combat and gave me something different than just working out or shooting or something like that.
So when Starbucks came out and they said, okay, we're going to hire 10,000 refugees, and I've read some legal analysis that says that's a discrimination based on national origin, and that's against the law. But now, forget about the law. You said to yourself, wait a minute, I got to do something. So who are these 10,000 vets you're going to hire?
When we look at the statistics of veterans and the underemployed ratio to veterans, we've got about 2.5 million veterans post 9/11, meaning we've been at war roughly 16 years, right, if my math's right. And we got about 2.5 million. We've got a higher percentage of those veterans, depending on their age and demographic, that are underemployed or unemployed. Yeah. So we're going to be pooling from most the post 9/11 veteran pool, or we can reach into the older, meaning the Gulf War era guys too. So
that's a lot of veterans that you're going to hire, which means you're going to have a very successful company. I mean, you're growing leaps and bounds. Are you planning on starting like some companies in the South and where a lot of people support our veterans?
Yeah, so we've got a really fantastic outreach program for expansion. We've incorporated a couple really big or well-known guys. So we've got Tom Davin from 511 Tactical. He's a former CEO of Panda Express. Matt Marshall from Amateur. He's a CEO of Amateur, which is a fairly substantial company. And then we've got Mike Ferreter, who's a former 3-star general on our team. Our plan is to build 600 stores in the next 6 years. Wow. I'm going to try to push this forward with the community behind me. So a lot of the things that I really want to talk about. Sorry.
No, I just want, before we go, just what you have just glazed over your service.
Yes.
What has it meant to you? How has that formulated who you are today and have this drive to do more for veterans today?
It's my DNA. So, you know, I'm a veteran, and what I always tell guys is hiring vets is not PR for me. It's who we are. So my company is veteran-owned, it's veteran-operated. I have above 50% hire rate for veterans.
That's fantastic.
I hired 12 people yesterday. So a silencer manufacturer went out of business. I'm pulling a lot of those guys out to me.
Our viewers are so amazing, and they support our troops. You're gonna do very well.
How can people get your Black Rifle coffee right now?
BlackRifleCoffee.com. I do want to touch on one thing, which is Blue Lives Matter is really one of our big partners in this.
To support the police.
Exactly. So all the profits from Thin Blue Line, which is a roast-to-order Colombian coffee, it's a Supremo, all the profits go back to law enforcement through through Blue Lives Matter. They have a membership. We provide life-saving equipment like the Rapid Application Tourniquet System back to law enforcement through those profits. I've teamed up with 2 other nonprofits, so a huge portion of my profits, net profit, over 5%, goes back to nonprofits. I gave away more money, guys, last year than I personally made.
Well, you support
that's going the wrong
troops.
way.
Yeah.
Evan, you support our troops, so we want to support your family. Tell us about your family. You have a baby on the way?
I do. I've got a 6-month, well, my wife's 6 months pregnant.
Congratulations.
I've got a 3-year, 2-month, going on 5-year-old daughter.
What's her personality?
Nara is incredible. My wife is incredible. She's, I mean, my family is everything.
Good answer, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, right?
If folks, once again, would like to support him, find out more information about your big plans to open 600 stores in 6 years, go to BlackRifleCoffee.com.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, you guys.
Evan, you having a boy or a girl?
Thank you.
2 girls. They call that the Camo Guy curse.
As a mother of a daughter, you can't have too many of them. They're the most amazing creatures. They're so great, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Good.
Thank you,
God
Evan.
bless you. Thank you.
Good luck.
A Fox News alert. Could terrorists be hiding in plain sight at our nation's airports? The disturbing new report is next.
And it was a major campaign promise made by President Trump.
Let's get to the bottom of this. 2017, can Americans expect a tax cut?
I think so, yes. And I think before the end of the year, I would like to say yes.
But now many business owners are asking, where is that tax cut? Are Republicans in Congress doing enough to make it happen? Brian Brenberg will be here to talk about why we need it now.
Party on, Garth.
It's Wayne's World, party time, excellent. I see a little silhouette.
Ainsley?
Well, it is your shot of the morning. Wayne's World still partying on 25 years later.
Yep, the cult classic returning to over 400 theaters nationwide today and tomorrow because Blockbuster's closed in celebration of their anniversary.
Yes, Blockbuster closed in my town forever about 5 years ago. The story about two metalheads starring Mike Myers and Dana Carvey remains the highest grossing film based on characters from Saturday Night Live. And here's a Wayne's World quiz for you. Who is their favorite president? The stars of Wayne's World, they had a favorite president. Who was it?
Anyone know?
Abraham Lincoln?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham
That's
Lincoln.
Right. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you, Toba.
That was good.
Toba said
kind
that.
of.
Yeah. Thanks for playing favorites. Our audio operator obviously likes Ainsley better.
Obviously cheating. Yeah. Thanks, Toba. Meanwhile, it's time for some news, and Heather Childers is helping us today. Good morning,
Hi,
Heather.
everyone.
Hey,
I can't believe it's been 25 years. That's
Yeah.
rather shocking. Well, we start with this Fox News alert for you. As you board your next flight, listen to this. The person checking your luggage could be plotting an attack. That, according to a brand new report from the House Homeland Security Committee. It is blowing the lid off of the very real security vulnerabilities, like the 900,000 U.S. airport employees who regularly bypass routine security checks. A 2015 investigation also uncovering that 73 workers with possible ties to terrorism, those red flags not found in their background checks. The TSA says it is reviewing the report. Another Democrat defying orders from the White House, the mayor of Prospect Park, New Jersey, declaring it a sanctuary for illegal immigrants. The Syrian-born Muslim says that he's following the national trend because he is an immigrant. He also says that there's nothing to lose since his city does not rely on federal funding. And faith wins out. A story we've been following. A cross at a Veterans Memorial Park will stay put. Vets and supporters restoring the display after atheists demanded that it be taken down. They had argued that the cross violated the separation of church and state. But officials in Belle Plaine, Minnesota, just approved a free speech zone inside the park. And that allows the cross to stay.
Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're American, whatever you are, we're all Americans fighting this war together.
And just in case, some of those vets stood guard overnight during the fight to keep the cross safe. And finally, Hillary Clinton is out of the woods. Yep, she's breaking her silence for the very first time since the inauguration. The failed candidate saying that the future is female.
Despite all the challenges we face, I remain convinced that yes, the future is female. Just look at the amazing energy we saw last month as women organized a march that galvanized millions of people all over our country and across the world, and to support Maker's mission to share women's stories.
Clinton also taking a jab at the president in the video at the Feminist Makers Conference, calling on strong women to set an example for every girl worried about their rights. And those are Look at Your Headlines. She's back.
That's right. She's back. She's got a new book deal, and she's going to start making speeches to make some more money.
Yeah, there's a real clamor to see more of her. Janice Dean, there's always a clamor to see more of you.
Thank you so much, Brian. That makes up for the earlier comment at 6:30. Let's take a look at the maps. We do have some rain in the forecast, also some severe weather. We have a tornado warning for central Louisiana and a severe thunderstorm watch for parts of Arkansas in towards Tennessee. So ongoing severe threat throughout the day today across the Mississippi River Valley. We could see large hail, damaging winds, isolated tornadoes. Not only that, but we have two storm systems, one across the East Coast that is going to rain and sleet and snow on the Patriots parade, but I don't think they're going to care. They're going to be dancing in the streets 11 a.m. for the big parade. And you can see that system moving across the Northeast, mainly rain today, but we've got a new storm system behind it. Wednesday night into Thursday, if you live in D.C., Philadelphia, New York, up to Boston, we could have a big snow event that's going to disrupt the morning commute. So be alert for that. And then across the West Coast, a new storm system moving in here, going to bring heavy rain and mountain snow, and that's also going to disrupt some travel plans, so we'll keep you posted. All right, Brian Kilmeade, back to you.
All right, let me tell you, let's talk a little bit about the economy. President Trump with some good news for Americans, telling our own Bill O'Reilly tax cuts on the way.
Let's get to the bottom of this. 2017, can Americans expect a tax cut?
I think so, yes, and I think before the end of the year, I would like to say yes.
But our next guest, he would like to say, but our next guest says that is not soon enough. So why isn't tax relief at the top of the to-do list? Joining us right now is Brian Brenberg. He's the chairman of the program in business and finance at King's College in New York City. So, Brian, is that a good tactic, waiting to the second half of the year to put it forward?
It's probably what they have to do, but look, it needs to get done this year. And the simple reason is because Americans expect that this was the centerpiece of the president's campaign. It was the right thing to make the centerpiece, but that means he and the Congress have to deliver this year. People are getting nervous it's not going to happen. I do think it will, but justifiably, because Obamacare repeal is taking so much time right now.
Right, it is. And you said technically don't get into detail on it, but you cannot do both at the same time. That's what the speaker told us last week.
He's right. It has to do with the budget and the baseline and where revenues are going to come from. So he's right. It has to go in that sequence. But they do need to get focused on tax reform and help the American people know it is coming. Here's what it's going to look like.
So can you show it to us and then say it's coming the second half of the year, but make it retroactive?
Yeah, I think actually that's what people want to see. They want to know what it is. They want to know when it's going to take effect. And they want to know if the president and the Congress are focused on it. Right now, there's so many issues on the table. They just want to see that the president, Paul Ryan, are making this a real priority.
Now, when we found out a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago that it might not happen right away, the market reacted negatively.
Yeah, because they've baked this in. Investors, consumers, businesses have baked these tax cuts in. If they don't happen, then you're going to start to see stock market pullback. You're going to see investment and hiring pullback. So it's critically important that this happen. Everything is really dependent upon it.
So the problem also I hear is that maybe Paul Ryan's plan or Congressman Brady's plan, he's chairman of Ways and Means, might not be something that Donald Trump could sign on to. He said it was too complicated.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to be the case. They are pretty close here. There may be some changes on the margin, but they're aligned in the principles.
And the thing is, when people start talking too much about it, it'll start amplifying and exponentially, correct?
Yeah, and I think the critics here are being a little bit harsh. Remember, Ronald Reagan didn't get his tax cut in '81 passed until August, okay? So you've got a little bit of time here. The critics are trying to create a little discord. This can happen. It can happen in a timely way, but they do need to get focused on it.
Brian Brenberg, thanks so much. Now you got to go focus on school.
That's right.
King's College.
Yep.
All right, coming up straight ahead. We all know what President Trump thinks of many in the media.
As you know, I have a running war with the media. They are among the most dishonest human beings on earth.
And the crowd roared at the CIA. But is Trump right or totally off base? We'll examine. And they've been rivals since